Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I am back with a new discussion, and today we will be talking about a Japanese legend in pro wrestling history. The ace of all Japan and the president of Pro Wrestling Noah, the Emerald Emperor, Mitsuharu Misawa. One of my favorite wrestlers and my most favorite Japanese wrestler. He introduced me to Japanese wrestling, and the reason why I even watched stuff outside of WWE, because of his style he helped create, and the legacy and the history and the incredible matches he created. I personally believe, as a wrestling fan, this is way better than the Attitude Era of WWE. Yes, I said it. He's that good. And there's a reason why. And we're going to explain that in the history and origin section. Mitsuharu Misawa was one of the most influential professional wrestlers in Japan history. He began his career in All Japan Pro Wrestling after training in the company's dojo system established by Giant Baba. In his early career, Misawa wrestled under the Tiger Mask 2 persona, created to carry on the legacy of Satoru Sayama's original Tiger Mask. As Tiger Mask 2, he quickly built a reputation for technical excellence, athleticism, and discipline, making him one of the promotion's rising stars. In 1990, Misawa dramatically removed the Tiger Mask during a televised match, making his transition to wrestler under his real name and signaling a major shift in HAPW's direction. The moment launched an era in which Misawa became the company's central figure. He soon emerged as the top star of AJPW's renowned King's Road style, a psychologically intense, physically demanding approach to pro wrestling that emphasized escalating drama and emotional storytelling. Through classics with opponents like Takashi Kawada, Kenta Kobashi, and Akira Taue, throughout the 90s, Misawa reached unprecedented heights in AJPW. He captured the Triple Crown Heavyweight Championship multiple times and delivered matches that are still considered some of the greatest of all time. His leadership went beyond the ring. He became AJPW's on-screen ace and respected locker room leader. Fans and critics admired the blend of toughness, humility, and consistent top-level performance, making him beloved across Japan and around the world. In 2000, following disagreements with Motoko Baba after Giant Baba's death, Misawa left AJPW and founded a new promotion, Pro Wrestling Noah. As president, booker, and top star, he guided Noah into becoming one of the best top wrestling organizations of the 2000s. The company developed its own identity and produced a new generation of standout performers, including Kenta Kobashi, Naomichi Marufuji, and Kenta. Despite growing business responsibilities, Misawa continued to wrestle and remained one of the Noah's central performers. Tragically, Misawa's career and life ended in June 13, 2009, when he suffered fatal injuries during a match in Hiroshima. His death shocked the wrestling world and highlighted the intense physical toll of the style he popularized. Misawa is not only remembered as an extraordinary in-ring talent, but also a visionary leader who shaped Japan's wrestling for decades. His legacy lives on through Noah, his students, and the countless matches that continue to inspire wrestlers and fans everywhere. Now we're at the section of the video where I talk about my personal thoughts and opinions. And the first question we gotta ask is, how was I introduced? At the time when I was introduced, I was looking at a bunch of WWE stuff, seeing the stuff that I missed out on, and seeing what all kind of matches were there. I was looking at Jeff Hardy and his brother doing tag team stuff. I was looking at John Cena's old stuff. I was looking at Edge's old stuff. I was looking at CM Punk's old stuff, Batista's old stuff, Hogan's early 2000s stuff, a bunch of different stuff. And I remember just scrolling through, and I had a whole playlist of different stuff that I was watching, and I saw this thumbnail of Misawa with his head down. And I forgot the title of the video, but the guy's name was Wrestling Colin or Wrestling Coin. And I watched that video and it intrigued me. And I saw clips of the style of wrestling he had, the King's Road style, that just like wowed me. I'm like, this is like way better than a lot of WWE stuff I've seen. Don't get me wrong, there's great matches. Like recently, I watched some of the TLC stuff, which was great, with the Dudleys and Edge and Christian and the Hardy Boys. But when I tell you, you don't need a table and a crazy spear spot to have an excellent match, you go to Japan and you get some really good singles and tag team matches. And you don't need any of that. These guys can just go. This King Road style is amazing. And being introduced to that style through Misawa, the guy that helped create it, was amazing. And so that brings us to our next question. What do I like about Misawa? It is not only the style he carries, the moves that he does. No, it's the way he carries himself into the ring. It's a unspoken confidence. It's really, really interesting. I think Blackbeard at the beginning of Jaya said, you don't always need to show your might through your fists. And I think with that saying, it's like, you can tell it's like, he's been here, he's been there, done that, and he's ready to take on the next challenge. And one of my favorite things he does before a match, he just moves his knees back and forth, like almost like he's warming up his knees to get ready to go and do a match. 1 second. Having to turn on my TV, and I will tell you why. Normally you're like, wait, why are you having to refresh your TV? Well, that's going to be a surprise later on tonight. I've got something else I'm going to be recording, but I'm not going to talk about how I'll be recording it. That'll be a surprise for tonight. And so, back to the discussion at hand, it's not only the way he carries himself, having that unspoken confidence, his technicality, the way he moves is interesting. He doesn't throw punches, he throws elbows, and they mainly like to focus on the grappling and just upping the ante. His style, his moves, his finishers, like they took the finishers, they made sure they would take them to the end and not use them over and over again. Honestly, I did not know how he would take the matches. It would go from like a kind of a slow pace at first. It would be right, let's see, it'll be right here for the next like 5 minutes, and then a crazy spot comes up. Like one of the guys gets thrown out of the ring. He does this thing called the elbow suicida, where he bounces off the ropes, takes his momentum, jumps under the top rope, and elbows the dude mid-air. And it is wild. Absolutely wild seeing him do that at his weight. Because it's like he's a heavyweight guy. Doing that kind of stuff is going to be harsh on your body. And so that also brings us to the next question. Do I like his style of wrestling? I do, to a certain degree. And the reason why is the problem with King's Road style is it has to keep going further and further and further. Arguably, I think that was the problem with like early WWE stuff too in the 2000s. It just had to keep going up and up and up, and like, especially with those TLC stuff. But when it came to Japan stuff, like they had to up the ante on the different moves that you had to do. And especially one of those moves being the Tiger Driver 91 that Misawa used, it was a underhook powerbomb where if you ever seen the pedigree, it's literally just the same. It's literally the same positioning, holding them like that, hooking under their arms, flipping them up like they're on there, getting ready to do a powerbomb, and except they're not landing on their back, they're landing on their neck. Right on their neck. It is a very, very dangerous way of doing it. Now, I enjoy this style of wrestling. I do. And like, heck, I literally just spent the whole time glazing. But there's so much risk with this style of wrestling. Like, there's a reason why all the injuries kept on racking up to the point of 2009 where he died, is because he was a very restless person. He didn't take care of his body. And he didn't have any medical staff at that time, which should have been something that happened regardless at that time. And so, and then on top of some of the moves he would take, there's this one move by a wrestler called Kenta Kobashi. He uses this move called the Burning Hammer, where if you've seen the attitude adjustment, it's like a fireman's carry, except you hold him, like here's the head right here, hold his neck like that, butt on the shoulder right there, and they would legitimately smack them on the back, like smack them on the top of their head and lean forward and just put all the momentum into the top of their head. And that was the Burning Hammer. That was a move Misawa took maybe once or twice, and that was really dangerous. Another move that he took was called the Gonso Bomb from Kawada. Kawada ended up in a match, tried to do a power bomb. Somehow his forearm bone broke and snapped, and Misawa was kind of in like a pile driver position. And so instead of picking him back up to just land him on his back, Kawada's like, all right, whatever. Boom! Spikes him on the top of his head. Dangerous move. These guys did dangerous stuff. There's another move called the Emerald Explosion. It's a little bit of a less dangerous move, but it's still equally as dangerous if you know anything about professional wrestling. And I think Devon Dudley said it best. He took this from another wrestler he's saying, you've got a bump card. You can only punch it so much. And unfortunately, Misawa punched it maybe a little too much. And so, with that being said, I enjoy it for its scale, but to a point to where it's like, okay, maybe we don't need to be doing this stuff. And I see why WWE wants to keep things a little bit more safe and not be doing all the weird epic stuff all the time. I mean, I know Survivor Series is coming up where there's possibly going to be a trash can spot with Io Sky. There's going to be somebody jumping off the top of the cage because Jimmy Superfly Snuka's spot from a long time ago, and they've been upping the ante since then. But keep in mind, Japan at that time was just changing. They were leaving from the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s and going into the 90s. And things had to change. And unfortunately, that change was restricted, and later on, Misawa would go make his own company and promotion. And just want to be able to change pro wrestling, but not to the point to where he would change himself. He made changes all around him, but he wouldn't change the problems he had, if that makes sense. And so that also brings us to our next question. Would I recommend watching these messages? Yes, I would. If you can handle people taking some really nasty, really heavy bumps. They take some rough ones. I'm telling you, they take some rough ones. If I had to recommend a starter one, I'd probably say the tag match with, I believe it is himself, Kawada versus Jumbo Tsuruta and Akira Taue. I think it's Akira Taue. I could be completely wrong. But it is genuinely one. It's a little bit safer, but it has a lot of technicality in it where it's like, it actually looks really good. And it could really run a race against some of the Ricky Steamboat and Ric Flair matches, in which I'm going to mention this briefly. There is a history of Misawa actually wrestling Flair, Steamboat. I believe he did. No, that was Satoru Sayama. A few other like wrestling legends. One of them actually being a part of AJBW, Steve Hansen. Good grief, Steve Hansen was rough. I mean, rough. He was a stiff wrestler, and he had a lot of great matches with Misawa as well. And of course, there's Steve Gordy, Dr. Death. I forgot his name, but he was there too. Had a great tag match between those two, Steve Gordy, Dr. Death, and Misawa and Kobashi. They had a great match against each other for tag championships, and there's a lot of matches I would recommend. Just be aware, they're not going to be like bloody, but they're going to be a little rough to watch due to the fact that it's like, okay, they are in really uncomfortable positions. But that's really the only thing I would warn you about, because they're not like, it's not like that one moment in that at this point for this wrestler's career where the ladder hits, and I forgot the guy's name, and they were against the Hardy Boys, and he split his nose like that, and he was just gushing red, had a red mask across his face. It's not that bad, and it's not like you're hitting people with light tubes, throwing them in the glass pane with that Matt Cardona match, but it's like, it's not as like extreme like as in ECW stuff or other independent shows. Now that leads us with the final question. What kind of legacy did he leave? He led a legacy that propelled newer stars. It didn't propel it quite well enough, one second. But he helped them get started. And he pushed for changes. He pushed for better quality in the production, allowed for other people from other promotions to be a part of it. Like, for example, there was a match between him and Samoa Joe that was great at Noah. And he's in his I think he's in his mid 40s and wrestling really, really well. And then the match he had with Kobashi, where he took his second burning hammer. At his age, they wrestled like it was the 90s again. Oh my gosh, I'm telling you. But enough of the blazing or whatever. But he didn't leave just greater pro wrestling there. He didn't just leave better opportunities for other wrestlers and trying to solve problems. He left something for somebody else to take up and say, okay, I see this. I see the problems he took. I'm going to add on upon it and make it better. And that's what you want. And that's what I'm hoping for John Cena's legacy. He leaves something for somebody else to pick up and say, okay, it's my turn to be the guy. Let me take a look at these problems and see how I can add upon rather than take away. That's the kind of guy you want. That is who Misawa was. And that's why I have a lot of respect for Cena, because he has some of that attitude as well. That ability to say, what can I do that can make this better for everybody else and not just for me? And that's the kind of attitude I appreciate. I want to have in my own life, and I'm working to have in my own life to do better. Make better quality videos, to make better quality content as I go along, and talk about other stuff other than just wrestling and animation and other stuff. And that's the kind of legacy that he left. The kind that anyone can pick up. Although no longer being with us, he's left his mark in wrestling and cementing his history, his legacy, his matches forever in the professional wrestling realm. He was the first ever wrestler I watched outside of WWE. He introduced me to so many different independents and different Japanese wrestlers. It made me want to enjoy more pro wrestling for what it was, storytelling. Especially when it came to producing some of the most thrilling and exciting professional wrestling I've ever seen out of the States. And I like WWE. However, Misawa never needed gimmicks, promos, or over-the-top spots. He delivered through pure performance and the spirit of pro wrestling's most important aspect, storytelling. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm glad I finally got to talk about my favorite Japan wrestler, a wrestler outside of WWE as well, and I couldn't think of a better choice other than Misawa. I look forward to covering more Japanese wrestlers and some more independent wrestlers down on the line. And maybe next time I'll even talk about his younger brother of the pro wrestling ring. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed the discussion, and if you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment your favorite pro wrestler on the bottom outside of WWE, and make sure to ring the bell for future uploads to be notified of more videos and the such. Thanks again. I will see you guys in the next discussion. I'm out. Peace.